Hey guys, it's Zhang, and today we're going to be making 3 of your new favorite puff pastry bites, and we're going to be pairing it with 2 of my favorite Pinot Noirs by ERATH. No joke, I have a personal story about this, and let's go ahead and get started. Thank you to ERATH for sponsoring this video. Alright, so the first one we are going to do is actually my personal favorite. It's a pinwheel puff pastry, almost like a pizza. So I'm starting with a sheet of puff pastry that I've already thawed. That is the essential part to working with any puff pastry, is to make sure that it's pliable enough to work with. Since we're gonna be rolling it up, we want it to be flexible. Okay, so you could choose to roll this out to be a little bigger or not. I'm gonna actually do that. Dust it with a little bit of flour on each side just so that it doesn't stick on my work surface. Okay. Out. And what I'm doing when I roll it out is not to make it like super big. I just want it to look even so that we can have the perfectly sized pinwheel. You can find puff pastry at grocery stores usually during the holiday season. They're a little more hard to find during throughout the year, so definitely stock up if you enjoy puff pastries. Okay. Now that it's rolled out, all I have to do is layer it with some of my favorite marinara sauce. Just a very thin layer, spread it out. And it's kind of like making a pizza. You just spread it out with the marinara sauce or pizza sauce, and then you just layer it with your favorite toppings. So here I'm gonna be using some sausage and mozzarella, but you can certainly use pepperoni, vegetables, mushrooms, whatever you please. Now I'm just gonna sprinkle it with a generous portion of mozzarella cheese because it's gonna make it nice and gooey inside. And don't worry too much about like filling it up. Since you're gonna be rolling it up, every bite will have a good amount of cheese. Some more Parmesan cheese, and then Italian sausage. I've already cooked the Italian sausage up, and I'm using like a spicy one just because I like that little bit of a kick. It just adds so much more flavor to the pinwheel. And if you notice, I have varying sizes for the Italian sausage. I have it in smaller crumbles and then bigger chunks. That way you get a good variety. So now I'm gonna roll it up the long ways because I want it to look like a big log and you get more out of it. Just carefully roll it, guiding it along. And because I left this inch at the edge, you can just squeeze it all together. Boom. That part is done, and now we just cut it up. Make really gentle slices because you don't want to squish it. The first piece is fine, but there you have like this nice pinwheel. And I just like to use like a sawing action, and I want to cut the slices about 1 inch thick. If you find that the puff pastry is too soft, you can always put it back in the freezer for 15 minutes until it firms up and then cut it. This is also a really great make-ahead type of appetizers. You can just throw these into the freezer and continue freezing them until you're ready to use. But I'm just gonna pop these into the oven at 400 degrees for about 10 to 12 minutes until they're nice and puffy and golden brown. This next one is a classic puff pastry bite, and it doesn't get any easier than this. So here I have my sheet of puff pastry, and I have these mini wheels of brie. Yes, that's right, we're gonna make mini brie and Croot. Croot. I'm actually gonna make them a little fun, and we're gonna wrap them inside these little mini muffin pans. Even though these are mini, they're a little too big for the pan, so I'm gonna cut them into quarters. You don't want a ton of brie in each bite. So first I'm gonna cut the puff pastry into small squares, and then I'm gonna take the brie and cut them into quarters. So now I'm gonna take my puff pastry square, place it inside of the muffin tin, press it down, and then I'm gonna take one of my Brie Bites. See, it fits nice and snugly in there. And then I'm gonna add my favorite jam. This time, because it's the holidays, I'm gonna use cranberry jam, and it has like that nice, earthy, warm tanginess, and it's gonna pair so well with our ERATH Pinot Noir. And for a little bit of crunch, I'm gonna add some pecan pieces inside. You guys, doesn't this look so festive? It's so pretty like this, and you definitely could leave it to just bake straight like this. However, since I want it to resemble a Brie and Croot, I'm gonna pinch the sides up to look like a little purse. I have to warn you, when you bake this up, you will get a little bit of spillage. So it's gonna be fine. It's gonna look great and it's gonna taste great. And then pieces like this where I cut the sides a little too small, I'm just gonna leave it alone. So we're done with this side, but as you notice, this side is still empty, so I'm gonna fill it with our next puff pastry bite, which will be a truffle mushroom and cheese bite. Okay, so this one is super simple as well. I'm just gonna start by grinding my onions, my garlic, and mushrooms together. I'm gonna start with a little bit of onions here. And if you guys want the recipe, I'll leave it in the description box below. Some garlic, a little bit of salt, our mushrooms. Now I'm using a combination of shiitake, white button, and bella, but you can use your favorite ones. I'm just gonna break it up so it fits in here nice. And I'm looking for about a cup of mushrooms. We'll start with that and then we'll add more if we need to. A little bit of thyme, some truffle powder seasoning. Just a little dash. Let's grind it up. Okay, this actually looks really good. Now I'm gonna transfer it out into a bowl. It's like a mushroom paste. Still a little bit of chunk in there. You wanna make sure that it's still semi-chunky. And then I'm gonna mix it with some cream cheese. Just kind of break the cream cheese in so that you get a nice distribution. And feel free to use your hands if you need to. I just like to break it apart so it kind of mixes well, just because the mushrooms are a little bit softer than the cream cheese. Now back to my spatula, I'm just gonna make sure everything is thoroughly mixed. That looks really good. Now let's grab our puff pastry. So here we're gonna start with our little sheets of puff pastry. I just cut it into 12 pieces again to fit the little mini pan. And now we're gonna press it in. And I'm just making sure to press the puff pastry into the cavity really well. That way we have a pocket to fill it in with our mushrooms and cheese. Make sure to just press it all the way down. So that's good. I'm just gonna sprinkle a little more truffle powder on each one so you get that nice mushroom flavor coming through. So now I'm gonna pop it into the oven at 400 degrees again for 10 to 12 minutes until it's nice, puffy, and golden brown. Look amazing and they smell so good. All right, so we pulled everything out of the oven and they've cooled slightly. The pinwheels look beautiful. And if you notice any of them unraveling, just kind of pinch them back together into the pinwheel shape because they'll stay. But now comes the fun part. Let's pour our wines. Here I have the ERATH 2017 Oregon Pinot Noir. And here I have the ERATH Willakaya Vineyard 2017 Pinot Noir. All right, so let's start with this one. I have a story about this Pinot Noir right here. So I don't know if you guys know, but I used to run a wine competition for Sunset Magazine. During the wine competition was when I discovered ERATH. My roommate and I tried it and we were obsessed. Like we literally sifted through 3,000 bottles of wines that entered the competition just to find the ERATH because it was so jammy and delicious. Just as I remembered. Pinot Noir is typically a very medium-bodied red, and this one has aromas of black cherry, plum, currant, a little bit of anise and sandalwood, so I think it would pair perfectly with our Brie Bites over here. Oh yeah. So I'm gonna open up the Willakaya Vineyard one, but as I'm doing that, I wanna let you guys know that I have a 10% off coupon for you. The code is ROAST, and I'll leave the details in the description box below. But I highly recommend these wines, and I would highly recommend it regardless of whether I was working with them or not, because I really do love this wine. This brings me back to my wine competition days. It has comforting wafts of blackberry cobbler, blueberry intertwined with fragrant vanilla and caramel. Oh, this would go so well with everything that I just made. Oh yes. Oh my gosh, it's so good. This ERATH Toluca Vineyard Pinot Noir has very balanced tannin and acids that just marry harmoniously. It's just very plush and velvety. Let's try it with our Pinwheel. It almost brings out the flavor of like the tomato sauce and the sausage in here. Now let's try it with the mushrooms. That paired so well together. Like the mushroom and the truffle powder just kind of intensified the flavor. I'm gonna go ahead and close out the video so I can finish eating and drinking my wines. But ERATH's Pinot Noir is a perfect complement to your holiday meal that has so many different flavors on one plate. Like literally both of these went so well. This is a little lighter and it would go so well with the mushroom puff pastry. Definitely goes so well with the Brie Bites. Let me know if you guys ever heard of ERATH before, and be sure to check out the 10% coupon that I have for you in the description box below. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.